Here. McGee,
Here.
Mulhall,
Here.
Snow,
Here.
8 present.
Okay, thank you. Under public comment, we have one individual registered, but before I get to that, I did want to say a few words here. As everybody knows, Friday, December 1st, beginning at 5:30, we will have our hometown Christmas parade. And I did want to thank Lisa Kempthorne from Poplar Grove. Lisa and her family had donated the tree that we have across from City Hall that we annually have donated. And I think it may be the prettiest tree that we've had. So thank you to the Lisa Kempthorne and her family. And then also, as well, the Belvedere Park District helps us light up the night parade. So we will have a parade starting at 5:30. And as usual, we will have the tree lighting ceremony following the conclusion of the parade. So if anybody can make it, again, Friday, December 1st, there will be a lot of festivities and gives us a chance to celebrate the real meaning of Christmas. So thank you. And then also on your desk this evening to the aldermen, there's an invite for December 18th. I just wanted to make sure everybody had that on their desk, which is for the Northern Illinois Council of Government annual luncheon. Many times the council, I don't think, understand that how the Council of Government works and what they do for the city, but they do fund any of our state, they go after any of our state funding as well as federal now. So they are a federal designated council, and certainly the city of Belvedere sits on that. So that again will be December 18th, 2023 at Veterans Memorial Hall in Rockford. It will be from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And I put that out there. If any of the council members could make it, I think you would find it enlightening. So you're certainly welcome to attend. With that being said, we do have one registration here for public comment. We have Robert and Lynn Camp, and they join us this evening. So anyhow, if you wanted to come up here to the microphone and whatever it is that you want to talk about, I see that you filled out, so feel free to come up here.
I just thought I'd like to, is it on?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that Clayton Stevens, that he's been a good guy for us for several years. He's done a lot of things for us. When we had a tree fall in 2020, it was, he came out, helped us out with it. We had a electric fire and stuff, so he helped us with it. He keeps us informed, like the Dairy Queen, the things that are coming in. I think he's a great guy, and I think we should keep him.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming. Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's all we have registered for public comment. We have no public forum this evening. We have reports of officers, boards, and special committees. Public safety unfinished business. We have none. Turning to the next page. Item number 2, public safety new business. Item A, Police Department update. Chief Woody.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening.
Good evening. For our November 2023 update, recruits Laura and Hauser will be graduating Basic Academy at Sauk Valley on December 7th. Once graduated, they'll begin the FTO process at the police department, where they'll put that academic training to practical use. Probationary officers Bendel, Ochoa, Venegas, and Gibson still in the FTO program. We've had 2 officers return to full duty from their medical status. We currently still have 2 officers on long-term medical and 6 officers in various stages of basic training. We have 7 officers who we have to cover for with higher backs at an overtime rate. The police department sergeant list will expire in April of 2024, so we'll be starting the testing process to create a new list for sergeants, officers who want to be sergeants. Shop with the Cop and Firemen will be on December 2nd for any of the alderpersons that would be interested in helping wrap or would just like to be in attendance. Get a hold of Chief Shadle or myself. We can give you the details for that. It's always a great time, probably one of my favorite events of the year. On December 21st, the VFW will be making Christmas dinner for veterans at the VFW Hall. Police Department will be serving those meals over the lunch hour, and we anticipate probably about 100 meals to be served that day. And then this Wednesday at the Community Building, the Police Department will be participating in the Christmas tree decorations. And then on Sunday, we will help with delivering those trees to families who may not otherwise have one. I'll entertain any questions that you may have. Otherwise, that concludes my update.
Okay, any questions for Chief Woody? All right, well, thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. You had a lot of good efforts around the holidays, and thank you. Item B, 2B, we have Fire Department update. Chief Shadle. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. The first thing I'd like to address is last week I was asked a question and I inadvertently misspoke. Alderwoman Freeman asked about ladder testing, and the first thing I thought of was ground ladder testing, and our ground ladder testing, our ladders did pass. The expense last week that we were talking about was the annual aerial ladder test, which is our Ladder 150 truck. And there were some minor repairs going on. We're actually waiting on a part on that. It's over at Rockford Fire. They do those for us. So I just wanted to correct that slight error and be transparent there. So I'd like to start off. We have a internship program. We work with Rock Valley College, and we just had an intern finish up. It's 120 hours they spend with the department, and they go on calls, and they train with us. And, they have a full medical, they have to bring a fit for duty medical screening and all that, and they participate a lot of things with us. They spend about 3 months with us. And I just wanted to share his letter that Mr. Nugeda wrote, just some excerpts from that, because I think it's a good perspective on the culture inside the fire department. So, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he said, I have been beyond blessed by the opportunity to be an intern in this department. Through the internship, I have learned from highly experienced members of the fire service. I am positive by being an intern of this department, there has been an immeasurable positive impact in my pursuit for a career in the fire service. To all 3 shifts, thank you for welcoming me into your culture. Thank you for your willingness to teach. Thank you for providing me with an image of what a firefighter and EMS personnel should be. I am unaware of when, once again, I'll be in the presence of this honorable department. What I am certain of is the commitment to fulfilling the example set to me by this department and its members. And I just wanted to highlight that, and it's definitely a testament to the professionalism of the firefighters and EMS personnel that serve our community. So I also wanted to give an update on Inspector Wittig. He has been a great addition to our department. He fits in very well. He, of course, has been focusing on the backlog of past due inspections. The thing with the past due inspections is that inspections are always due and then past due. So there's over 600 fire systems in Belvedere. So those are always, as time passes, there's more and more past dues. So his goal is to bring that number down while also dealing with the new ones that come in. And he's been pretty effective doing that. He's been able to reduce the number of past dues to from 289 to 204. So in addition to that, when he's out doing inspections, oftentimes there are certain deficiencies. And so with those, they take a little longer because they require at least one follow-up visit to make sure that things are corrected. So he's been very busy doing that. Additionally, it's been great having someone in that position Monday through Friday during normal business hours. There's a lot of times contractors or business owners have questions, and in the past it had just been on-duty firefighters, and say that firefighter was assigned to this building, but he's not there today because they work 24/48s. Having Inspector Wittig there, he's able to just answer those questions, provide that continuity. If something needs to be done immediately, for example, when the president came, they're like, we need a fire inspection of the community building right now, please. And he was there, and he was able to go and do that. So that's been a great benefit as well. Wanted to let you guys know we're doing promotional testing. So today was actually the last day to apply for promotion. And we have 8 firefighters that applied for lieutenant and 1 lieutenant that has applied for captain. Just a little bit of background on that. The rules of promotion are governed by the Promotion Act. There's a Fire Department Promotion Act, and then the rules of the Police and Fire Commission. So it lays out clearly all the steps, just to real concisely let you know how it goes. The grading is 10% seniority points, 10% chief points, 40% assessment center exercises on tactics and leadership, and 40% on a written exam. Now, that list must be created by law no less than every 3 years, whether there's likely openings or not. And it is very possible with this list that there's no openings. However, for acting lieutenant and acting company officer, though those are chosen by the rank on that list. So the number 1, 2, and 3 on that list are going to be, it works out to about 50% of the time they'll be acting as a lieutenant and 50% of the time acting as a company officer. And then 4, 5, and 6 will be 50% acting as a company officer. So it really offers a nice progression into leadership in the department as they get a little experience to more experience to more experience and more experience. So I just wanted to give you guys a little update on the promotion process. Training highlights, this past month, MD1 Dr. Smetana reviewed trauma emergency care with all three shifts. He came in and reviewed that. We also did extrication practicals with cars donated by Denny's Car Hauling. We reviewed instant command systems, and when we were doing that, we were actually addressing the after-action report that we made after meeting with area responders and really analyzing our response for the tornado. And even though it went really well, we always look for things that we can do better. So we reviewed that this month, and then also reviewed instant command systems with everybody. And then we also, for EMS training, reviewed arrhythmias. In the past 30 days, I'll go over the runs really quick with you guys. I know this is getting lengthy, but I want you guys to know what's going on for the fire department. And I missed last month, so I'm making up for it. In the past 30 days, we had 277 calls for service, averaging 9.2 responses a shift. 203 of those were EMS calls, and we provided emergency transport for 163 patients. We had 5 fires that we responded to. One was the commercial fire this last weekend at East Madison, the old cam car. There was, unfortunately, it was a $500,000 piece of equipment that caught fire. Luckily, they were able to get there almost immediately and extinguish it right away, but it still damaged the machine to a great extent, unfortunately. We responded to a residential fire in Loves Park, and then in town we also had a cooking fire, a car fire, and a dumpster fire. I'm almost done here. For transports, we transported 22 patients to Javon Bay. We transported 66 patients to St. Anthony Medical Center, 17 patients to UW Health Rockford, and 58 patients to UW Belvedere. So you can see the majority of our patients go to OSF, which is the closest admitting hospital, and then UW Belvedere, which is the closest hospital. CPR given the last 30 days, we gave CPR 5 times. Fortunately, we were able to get return of circulation in one of them, and unfortunately, For the other 4, we were unable to. Aid given, aid received, our balance is really good still. We had 10 instances where we gave aid and then we received aid 9 times, so pretty balanced. And lastly, our ambulance revenue. This is our 6th month providing the service. We've billed 1,097 trips, gross charges of $2.4 million. Revenue received to date, $104,000. We're still waiting on Medicare and Medicaid. And the cost to provide the service to the citizens thus far is approximately $840,000. So be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Any questions for Chief Shadle? Alderwoman Mohal.
Thank you, Your Honor. When you say that we're still waiting for Medicare and Medicaid, meaning that they have not started reimbursing yet, is that correct?
They have not started reimbursing, that is correct.
Okay.
We've been approved as a Medicare provider, and we've also had the EDI, the electronic disbursement, something. That is all set up and a go. The Medicare claims have been submitted. The Medicaid status was pending the Medicare. Now that that's all done, and that has an unknown time frame, so there will be a little bit of time delay too before the Medicaid reimbursements come.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Chief Shadle? All right, thank you, Chief. I know you had a lot to cover there. Your testimonial from the recruit obviously speaks volumes for the department and your professionalism and your leadership. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Item 3 on finance and personnel. Unfinished business, we have none. Item 4, finance and personnel. New business. Item A, Finance Department update. Finance Director, Ms. Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor. My update is actually more of a discussion or a question for council. We started building the budget calendar because actually in December, we start looking at the budget numbers internally before we start bringing them to council in January. And as we started building it, we start presenting in January and we don't finish the process till April. So you're actually voting in April on something you heard back in January. Previous councils actually held a half-day work session and worked through the budget at that time and then brought it to committee. I was wondering if that's something that you would be interested in. It would shorten our time to maybe we could meet a half-day on a Saturday in February and conclude by April, so everything is fresh in your minds when it comes time to have the public hearing and the final vote. You would have budget books in advance to see everything before we met. But I wanted to get your feeling on that before we went too far down that road. So I would be interested in your thoughts on maybe a half-day session rather than presenting for a couple hours every committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. If there is any questions for Ms. Hanson regarding that, certainly now is the time to ask. And I don't know if maybe this is your first blush at this this evening, but if you would think about that and then either get back to Ms. Hanson or myself regarding if there's any interest to do that. Alderman Albertini?
I have one question. You were saying to meet a half a day on a Saturday. Is this one Saturday or several Saturdays?
The proposal will be one Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Hanson?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, is there any questions for Ms. Hanson? Okay, and if you would please get back to us on that, get back to Ms. Hanson regarding that, that would be great. All right, item 4C in your packet, there's a memo from me. It was touched, actually, it's, oh, I'm sorry. 4B, I'm sorry, I went right over the top. Ms. Hanson, 4B, tax levy discussion, yes.
Thank you again. So each year, the city of Belvedere must adopt a tax levy by the last Tuesday in December. State statute dictates the funds for which we can levy, as well as a maximum rate for each fund. However, as the city is home rule, it is not subject to tax caps and therefore does not have a maximum rate. With the exception of last year, City Council has not raised its levy since 2017. In other words, the city has continued to collect the same amount from property owners year over year. You have some information that was included in your packets. The first chart shows the different items for which we can levy. It shows the amount. So this was last year. So this is the amount we currently levied and actually what we spent for that line item. And anything that is not covered by the levy, we have to make up from general funds. So according to looking at this chart, we would actually be $965,000 we would have to cover in general funds if we don't do anything. And again, the amount spent was last year's, it's not this year's. We also included some highlights, just some things to keep in mind as you have your levy discussions. Some include IMRF contribution rates will increase, insurance rates for public works will increase. We have wage increases built into the union contracts. Police pension fund levy request is $262,000 higher than last year. Firefighters is $100,000. Ida Public Library request is $38,563 over last year. As Chief Shadle shares with you periodically, ambulance revenue is still unknown at this time. And obviously, cost of materials and contracted labor continue to escalate. But on a positive note, with a change to United Healthcare, we can expect a decrease of approximately $200,000. We are still holding funds, ARPA funds, in a CD right now, which we're holding to potentially offset any losses from the ambulance service. And obviously, building permits continue to grow. We included some things that have either opened this year or will be opening in the near future, just to keep in mind sales tax, an increase in sales tax revenue. And then what we also included were just a variety of options just to get discussions going so you could see what potential increases or no increases, what everything would look like. So you've got 7 different options. Again, they're just to get discussions going. It's completely up to council what direction you want to take the levy, but it's a starting point.
Okay. And so that everybody understands, it should be the 2023 taxes collected and distributed, the options 1 through, no change, and then 1 through 7. I think it says 11/7/2023 on the upper right-hand corner. So is there any questions, any comments for Ms. Hanson? Alderman Fleury?
Thank you. Just a comment, I want to appreciate Shannon for putting this together and giving us multiple options and kind of really laying out, what we've spent, what our shortfalls are, and how we could overcome that. So I appreciate all the hard work you put into this.
As a reminder, we are required to adopt our tax levy ordinance by the last Tuesday in December, which means you have to introduce your levy ordinance for first reading next week. So we do need a motion coming out of committee tonight as to what direction you want to go.
Alderman Snow?
So, as I'm looking at all these options, and it's a lot of numbers and verbiage, option number 4 appears to be the highest amount, and that appears to account for all the shortcomings that the city shows on that first chart in the beginning of the thing. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And another thing that, and I'm assuming it would potentially, I don't know what category on this page it would come into play, but there are a couple items that I think we should try to get back into the budget world, which is increasing the fundage to Growth Dimensions back up to 55,000, which would be an additional 35,000 over last year, if I recall correctly. And providing the $2,000 back to the sister city. So I would be looking to even make that an additional increase over option number 4. So for discussion purposes, I'll make a motion to adopt number 4 with the additional 37,000 added to that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor then to adopt option number 4 plus an additional $37,000.
I second it.
And there's a second. Is there any other debate? Thank you. Alderman Burden.
Thanks, Mayor. So then, just for comparison purposes, what would the percentage be that is the city shortfall?
The shortfall is actually 18.4%.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the motion on the floor? Ms. Hanson, would you go over the amount that this will cost the property tax? This will be on, added to the property taxes so that we all have a good understanding.
Let me add in real quick the 37,000, then I can tell you that. Okay, so on a $100,000 house, the increase for the year would be $62.37. And on a $150,000 house, it'll be $100.41.
And you said $60 and,
$62.37 and $100.41.
okay,
And that's approximate because the worksheet we're using is just taking into consideration the homestead exemption.
okay. All right. Alderman McGee?
Thank you, Mayor. I know last year we were in the same boat as far as trying to figure out raising the levy, and I think we all decided to try to reach a compromise as far as our options go. And I think we're looking at the same thing. I know that the way I see it, the fire and police pensions are something that you know, we're obligated to pay, and that there's no getting around. Whether the taxpayer likes it or not, I think that those have to be funded. And as I look at this, I would probably lean more towards option 2 or 3, just for that reason. And like I said, it's half of what option 4 is. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you. I will say this, when we had laid out these options, obviously we had looked at the pension fund. We had seen where, in the past, other communities had been delinquent in funding police and fire pensions, and we certainly didn't want to get into that habit. I think it's a bad habit. And so when I had looked at these, I had looked at option 3. And keeping in mind that some of the growth that we have approved, we're not going to see that. Some of it we are seeing now, but there are some developments that we're not going to see that are not going to be completed for the next 2 or 3 years, and I think you're all well aware of that. That essentially changes the outlook. My hope was that certainly wasn't that we would catch this up all at once. I think that we had flatlined the levy, 7 years, 6 years? We had flatlined it, and that included a lot of things that we were delinquent on not funding. Last year, we did change that. Alderman McGee is correct. We did have a compromise where it wasn't trying to make up all at once, and I would think that we would be cognizant of any individual in the city at 7.7% plus the additions that we're talking about. We're going to see a significant increase at a time where we have an inflationary rate of, depending on who you talk to, 8.5% to 11%. So I want the council to be aware that when we spend, when we do this taxation, it is going to come out of individuals that perhaps are going to feel that inflation just as much as we are, and I think we need to keep that in mind. So it's certainly up to the council, but I would agree with Alderman McGee. I had chosen option 3. Whenever I had looked at these, I wanted to see where this discussion would go, and where you take it, I guess that's where it will go. So we have a motion on the floor, and that motion is to adopt option 4, which is a 7.7% increase plus the IDA request. That's 8.52%.
Actually, going from our current levy amount, which is the city and the library, to option 4 plus the 37,000, so that's it's the IDA request plus the shortfall plus the 37,000 is actually a 17.33% increase over the current.
Current 6,000,006, right?
Correct. So 6,006,000 to 7,047 is 17.33. It's a difference of 1,041,174.
So I think with that being said, thank you. So I think with that being said, I appreciate that, Ms. Hanson. I think it puts it into perspective as to, raising the levy at this time that much. But you have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion? Alderman Snow?
So in option 4, when it talks about the city shortfall, does that reflect an increase, because it looks like it does based on this chart, to some of the pension that's mentioned in option 2 and 3?
So that just covers, it's our current levy plus the 965,611. So again, the amounts on that front page, it says amount expended FY '23, so those don't cover what they're asking for this year. This is what we paid last year. So it does not cover the 2 pension requests.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? We'll take a roll call vote, please.
Albertini,
Aye.
Brereton,
No.
Flurry,
Aye.
Frank,
Nay.
Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Nay.
Mulhall,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
5 in favor.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you. All right, we have item 4C. In your packet is a memo from me dated November 21st, 2023. It's the appointment of Clayton Stevens to fill the vacancy of Ward 1 Alderman created by Alderman Tom Porter's resignation, and that would be for the remainder of that term. I'll read it. I offer my appointment of Clayton Stevens to fill the vacancy for Ward 1 Alderman created by Alderman Porter's resignation. As you know, Mr. Stevens previously served as Ward 1 Alderman and ran for that office in the last election. He has shown the dedication and commitment to the city and the office of Alderman necessary to finish the remainder of Alderman Porter's term of office. I would ask for a motion as recommended from the council. Motion by Alderwoman Frank and second by Alderman McGee. And I'll read that motion for the record. Motion is consent to the appointment of Clayton Stevens as Alderman of Ward 1 to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Alderman Porter and for the remainder of the term. Any discussion? Alderman Snow?
So just for the record, at this point for everybody's discussion, I've served here on the council since my beginning in 2011 with Clayton Stevens. I think it's a poor choice, and I will be voting no.
Well, let me explain my appointment. I appreciate you making sure that everybody knows you're going to vote no, but as long as it's my appointment, let me explain it. Alderman Porter did a great job. Alderman Porter, I had pulled up the attendance. Alderman Porter hadn't missed any meetings until this year, and there was a family issue with Alderman Porter, and we all know how that is, and he wasn't able to attend. But when I pulled the attendance, I also pulled the attendance of some of the alder persons, and Mr. Stevens, when he was here up until this last election, had missed one meeting in the last year. And so I think everybody understands, and I know how busy it can get. We've had issues with, we haven't been able to, we've been worried about having a quorum. We haven't met a quorum with annexation agreements because we haven't had enough bodies in the seats. I will say this about Alderman Stevens. This last election, the reason I think it makes a sensible choice is because Alderman Stevens, there were 2 aldermen that ran in the last election, 2. Alderman Albertini and Alderman Stevens at the time. Nobody else had come forward to put their name in. Nobody come forward to put their name on a ballot, and nobody else sought that office. There were 2, just 2. So with that being said, and the record of Alderman Stevens has served 3 terms, 12 years, serving the constituents and the residents of this. And the politics of it, I don't know if why it's a poor choice. You might want to expound on that, and I'll give you a chance in a minute, Alderman Snow, since you think it's a poor choice. But I think it's a choice that allows the residents in Ward 1 to be heard, to be represented, and to take and field calls. I served as an alderman with Alderman Stevens, and like many aldermen who have done their homework and at least have taken the time to make sure that they are in attendance and they return the phone calls of citizens, not only in Ward 1, but throughout the city. And I believe that's his reputation. I believe he's done it honorably. So that's why the appointment is here. Politics aside, I think that there's no other person that had sought the position. So, Alderman Snow, if you would like to correct me where I'm wrong, feel free.
I would not.
Thank you. Alderman Albertini?
I have a couple of statements I'd like to make. I'd like to know if I may speak from the podium instead of my seat. The reason is I'm Italian, I speak with my hands, and it's hard for me to hold the microphone down and speak at the same time.
I suppose you can, sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry. You all know that I'm the alderman now of Ward 1. My apprehension being is, when I ran, I did a hard-working job to do so, and the people decided that they no longer wanted Clayton Stevens as their alderman. That was justly justified by the fact that I'm sitting here now. I'm not saying nobody voted for him, people did. I feel, though, that it's a slap in their face to put somebody they didn't want in there just because somebody felt that they wanted to appoint him to this position. It greatly diminishes all my accomplishments. I feel saddened for my ward if this were to happen. If it was your ward, think about how you would feel if the same circumstances was in your ward. How would you handle it, and what would you feel about it? I understand the mayor's point of view, but also I understand that there are other people who showed interest in this position. And I feel if we were to vote no to Clayton Stevens and then gave somebody else who might be on this list a chance, granted, we might vote no for them as well, but I'd say we should have a chance to see who else is up for this position, because I know there is other people who sent letters of intent for this position. If we do fail to put any of these people through, that's fine. I mean, we went through the process at least. The other thing is, keep moving the hands. The other thing is, once all these decisions have been made, if we don't come to a decision, then it's going to be up to the mayor to appoint somebody as to fill that empty seat. I think I'd rather have my ward blame the mayor than to blame me for somebody sitting in that seat that they didn't want. So I'd say let's try to get those other people who did apply for this position a chance. We could always get back to Mr. Stevens if we have to. But let's see who the other people are. Maybe there's somebody we would really like. We don't know that. So that's my thoughts. I'm not going to say, like Mr. Snow, how I'm going to vote. I'll decide that when I sit down. But I do want to thank everybody for listening to me, and I hope you understand how I feel. And I hope the people in my ward understand. I did receive several calls today. I believe a lot of them are politically connected, obviously, by the people who called me. I did also get calls encouraging me for what I feel. So it's a 50-50 deal as far as people calling me today. I got over 30 calls today. So it's about 15 each way. I didn't put anybody up to call me. People called me. I don't know if the other 15 were coaxed to call. I don't know. But I did acknowledge them, and I did explain to them that I would make my decision this evening. Thank you all for listening to me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderwoman Frank?
Thank you, Mayor. I think that Clayton Stevens would be a good choice because we already know what we have with Clayton. He knows a lot about the fire department, pensions. He knows a lot about street, digging and stuff because of family business or whatever. But this is the time that we don't want to start with somebody brand new that doesn't know how to do the budget process. So I think right now, he would be a win, to have him. And it's only a temporary until the end of the term. So I don't know what the objection is, other than it's personal.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Fleury?
Thank you, Mayor. So it's nothing personal. I talked to Clayton earlier, and I agree that Clayton did a good job for the city while he was an alderman. But I tend to agree with what Mr. Albertini said, that because it is so close to the recent election, it's only been 7 months, and the people of Ward 1 came out and voted for Mr. Albertini. So I think that by putting Mr. Stevens back into the Ward 1 position without looking at other options right from the get-go, I think that is a disservice to the voters of Ward 1. I've also received several phone calls. So I've received some calls from my ward and some other wards. So it seems like everyone that was outside the ward was in favor of Mr. Stevens, but I've received several phone calls from people within Ward 1 who were not in favor of it. Until tonight, when we had, thank you for coming out tonight and speaking on his behalf, but I think that, in light of that, to me, we want to do what's best for the voters. We talk about that all the time. And I think in this case, because it's only been 7 months, I think that the voters have voted for Mr. Albertini. And I think, I received a submission from an individual who had expressed some interest. I don't know if you received that same email yet. I tried to respond back to him to see if he had contacted you. But, I think at this point, I think that we should look at if there are any other opportunities of people that might be interested, and maybe they're not as qualified as Mr. Stevens, but I think we owe it to the voters of Ward 1 to at least explore those options. Like you said, Mayor, it is your appointment, and it's, the council approved, but I think at this point, we have gone several months without a second Ward 1 alderman, so I think, by not voting for Mr. Stevens this evening doesn't say that we wouldn't vote for him in the future, but I think that gives an opportunity for voters of Ward to express their opinion, and also if there are any people that are interested in it, can make their plea to you and see if they pass your muster, to at least bring it to the council to see what else is out there, and then we can take a vote being fully informed. And ultimately, I think that takes care of Ward 1 voters, and I think it gives a fair shake to Mr. Stevens. So that's what I would say.
Alderman Albertini and then Alderwoman Frank.
Okay, as far as being new, I'm new, and I'm catching on pretty quick, and I'm thinking I'm doing a good job. I think anybody that comes into this job, if they're conscientious enough, they can learn it quick enough. I understand experience does help. But eventually, you're going to put somebody new in that position anyways. And same as you will in my position someday. I'm not going to be here forever, either as Clayton or any of us. But I don't think saying that he's qualified and a new person may not, you don't know that. So let's leave it out of there.
Alderwoman Frank.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say because Alderman Albertini won doesn't mean that all the other people that voted for Clayton didn't want him, that voted for him. I think there was a 20-point difference.
22 votes different.
22, and it was a high turnout for that ward. So you can't tell me because somebody won that they don't want the other candidate. He ran. It's not like we're just putting somebody up that's never ran before.
Okay. I will say that was a point that I was going to make, is that it was a close election. I think it was 52 to 48. So it's not like anybody who didn't vote for, Alderman Albertini, he obviously prevailed in that election. But my point is, again, that the only one who sought that office, who participated in the election, who competed in the election, was the candidate that I have presented to you this evening. I don't think that you know, I don't think that the disparity was that large. There's almost a 50-50 split. I think somebody had mentioned that earlier, that individuals did vote for Mr. Stevens. So, but again, the bottom line was nobody else had put in the time and effort whenever there was an election to ask the voters to select them. Only him and only Alderman Albertini, only two. And that's why I don't think there's anybody that I have seen that have put forth an effort such as Alderman Stevens. But that's my opinion. That's the appointment that I've given to you. I would ask Alderman Stevens if he did want to address the council. If he does, I would certainly give him that opportunity. Step up.
Good evening. I am asking for your support to be Ward 1 Alderman. You know, I've lived in this city for 50 years. I've been in the same house since October of '85. I've been married to my wife Sandra for 42 years. We raised 2 daughters in the home, my eldest Amanda, 36, and my youngest Alyssa, 30. Both have moved out of Belvedere to follow their husbands for their husbands' jobs. Now that they're gone out of Belvedere, they both want to come back because they've decided that Belvedere's not as bad as they thought it was originally, that it's a nice, quaint community. I started with the Belvedere Fire Department in October of 1985. Retired from the department February of 2010 with over 24 years of service to the citizens. Before that, I was with the Boone Volunteer Ambulance for 5 years. You know, my dedication to the community has been out there. I was the city's first paramedic in the fire department. I went to paramedic classes and training for a year. In that amount of time, I didn't get any support from the city at all. The ones who supported me were my union brothers. On the days that I was supposed to be in class, they came and covered my shift. And all the rest of the time, you know, it was 5 days a week for a year because I thought that paramedic was the best thing the city could do. Now, thank God, everyone is damn near a paramedic. Are they all paramedic? Yes. They're all a paramedic. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful we're gotten the ambulance back into the city, because when I was with the fire department in the younger years, I was in the back of that ambulance, oh my God, for many years. Loved the fire department. Got a lot of stories. Of course, Sean could tell you a lot of stories about stuff that goes on. One thing while I was in paramedic training, I got to deliver my youngest daughter, Alyssa, during my whole training. Of course, all the other firemen stated that, and the only reason my wife got pregnant was so that I could finish my paramedic training. It's not true. I didn't. I've served with the council for 3 terms, 12 years, from May 2011 to April 23. And it was stated earlier, there were 2 people that ran for alderman, John and myself. And I lost by 22 votes. Not a giant landslide. I've always represented the citizens of Belvedere, not just Ward 1, as the camps have said. You know, I've gone out on my way to work with people, you know, tried to talk a bunch of people into coming, but it's cold, so nobody wants to come out. As being a yes man for the mayor, I disagree with him quite a bit on things. I do agree with a lot of things because we're both the same age. We've both lived in Belvedere a long time. Heck, we graduated out of high school, well, about a year difference is all. Matter of fact, I'm better friends with his brother Clayton because we were on the fire department for 5 years or so. Which made it kind of hell when we were on the same shift and he yelled, "Clayton!" They got 2 of us. Any questions or concerns?
Okay. All
And I
right.
do want to thank the camps for coming. I mean, I know it was a pain in the ass to come out here in the cold. That's my job, or was my job. No, no. No other questions? You got anything for me, Mayor?
No, I don't. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for showing me that you were interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for coming down here this
Yeah,
evening.
I've been watching the meetings on television. I've been incredibly busy the last few months. My mother decided to downsize, and I've been cleaning out a house that we've been in for 52 years. And my mother is a collector, we'll say. She's a collector with a 200-unit storage building business. So it was a lot of work.
All right.
I came back to the meetings once the low flow channel
Mhm.
came in, because I've been working on that since shortly after I got my aldermanship to try to get that taken care of. Because I always thought that the water's got to back up from someplace and start heading upstream. And I've dealt with a lot of people up there trying to get this problem solved. One of the big ones we did was up by the high school, increasing all that storage. Those neighbors, Kathy Metzger, I've talked to her many times. She's been in her house over 50 years, and I was one of the only first ones that ever came and talked to her. She said one of the mayors had ended up in a kayak going past her house.
That wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you? Okay.
No.
Any other questions or
All right.
concerns?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, I appreciate it. All right, any other comments? Alderwoman Mulhall.
I would just like to say that I agree with Alderman Albertini and Alderman Fleury. I also had an email from someone else that was interested in the appointment for this position. And I think Alderman Gramkowski worked out wonderful as a new alderman appointed here. So I'd really like to have that be a possible consideration of hearing from others that may be interested in this position as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, any other questions? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, that being a motion consenting to the appointment of Clayton Stevens as Alderman of the First Ward to fill a vacancy created by the resignation of Alderman Tom Porter and for the remainder of that term. If there are no other comments or questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we'll also do a roll call vote, please.
Brereton,
Aye.
Flurry,
Nay.
Frank,
Aye.
Gramkowski,
Aye.
McGee,
Aye.
Mulhall,
Nay.
Snow,
No.
Albertini,
Nay.
4 in favor.
We have motion lost. Actually,
No, you.
oh, we have just, yeah.
It's
I'll break the tie, vote aye.
So 5 in favor.
Okay, motion passed, thank you. Thank you again, Alderman Stevens, and I want to thank the camps for coming down. I think that you've been in Ward 1 for, I don't know, as long as I have, 50 years. you know, yeah. So I appreciate you coming down here and taking the time out of your evening. It's important that the council and I get to hear from residents about how they feel about the representation. So thank you again for taking time out of your evening. I appreciate it. All right, moving on, we have item 5 on other. We have item A, Rock Road Companies, Inc., an annexation agreement, Attorney Drella.
Good evening. This is actually an existing pre-annexation to the city of Belvedere. It is a quarry, formerly the Rockford Blacktop Quarry. It lies south of Graham Road, immediately east of Irene Road. We did a pre-annexation agreement with Rockford Blacktop in 2005, so they could operate that quarry under the city's auspices. That annexation agreement expires in 2025. However, Rock Road has purchased the quarry from Rockford Blacktop. And what they're seeking to do now is essentially extend that annexation agreement. There are a couple small changes to the annexation agreement. One, we updated all the fees to reflect current fees. 2, we are recommending in the annexation agreement the ability, if they need to add a second batch plant, a concrete plant, into the quarry. That will actually increase revenue to the city. If it's operational, there's already a batch plant there, so we'll not create an additional impact upon the neighborhood. And they operate on the floor of the quarry so that they don't impact the neighborhood as well. A further benefit to the city is, as you know, we'll eventually be seeking to extend our sewer mains that will eventually lie south of 90 towards Four Rivers Reclamation District. We have negotiated a 100-foot easement on the southern portion of the property to facilitate placement of that sewer main, or at least a part of it, a small part of it. And we are recommending, while statute provides for a 20-year term on annexation agreements, utilize our home rule power and make it 40 years so that we can lock in receiving the host fees created by aggregate that's mined out of the quarry coming to the city of Belvedere, because they do pay a tonnage fee to the city of Belvedere for every ton of aggregate they mine and sell. So really the recommendation is to move to city council in ordinance form the approval of the annexation agreement between the city of Belvedere and Rock Road Companies, Inc. It pretty much keeps moving forward what's been the practice for the last 17 years or 18 years, and has a couple of other benefits to the city, the additional revenues and the easement.
So moved.
Okay, we have the recommended motion, and that is a motion by Alderman Snow and a second. Alderman Fleury, thank you. All right, and that is a motion to move forward to the city council in ordinance form approval of the annexation agreement between the city of Belvedere and Rock Road Companies, Inc. Any questions, any comments, any concerns?
Procedurally, that will come to you in first, if it passes, that will come to you in first reading next Monday night, with a second reading at the last meeting in December. At that time, as you know, we'll have a special public hearing for the annexation agreement. There'll also be a separate public hearing for the tax levy. But at that point, you could approve the agreement.
Okay. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, Alderwoman Frank?
This might be just a minor thing or maybe not affect them at all, but is there an hour of operation change?
No, there's not. This is a blasting quarry, just like the Plody quarry next to it has been for years. They don't blast near as much as Plody does, at least currently. There is in the annexation agreement, it's not changing the hours of blasting as well as the hours of operation. We did modify the agreement in that section a little bit. They now have to notify us of the blasting schedule. They'll also have to notify the Boone County Sheriff, because they're the ones that get all the calls. So that's an additional benefit to us and the residents. If you have operational questions, representatives from the quarry are here. I should point out that we are not changing any zoning on the quarry pursuant to this agreement. They may come back in the future and seek some changes, but that would be down the road and have to come through you in a PUD approval process at that point.
Okay, thank you for that question. Any other questions? Okay. Any other comments, any concerns? Alderman Albertini?
I have one question. He mentioned that we get a schedule for when they're doing blasting. Is there any way I can get a copy of this? The reason I ask is every once in a while my house shakes. And I'm trying to explain to my wife that it might be the quarry when they blast. Because this happens occasionally. You feel a ba-boom.
We can certainly, when we get the copy of the blasting schedule from this quarry, get it to you. Promise, we don't get one for Plody because they're not within our jurisdiction. So to the extent they blast, we wouldn't be able to give you that. But I believe they may file that with Boone County, I'm not sure.
Okay, because if it's coincidental with what I feel at home, I can justify it to my wife and calm her down instead of her thinking the earth is moving,
Just
so,
tell us an earthquake, it's the big one.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, any other concerns? All right, hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And if there's any opposed, motion passed, thank you. And we also have item B, video gaming discussion. And I brought this to the council, as the council may or may not be aware, I don't know. At first, when we started out with video gaming, we had 30 permits that we would issue. And Gina, feel free to, if I misspeak, to raise your hand and correct me. We currently have 40. We have increased that to 40. There are some issues that have been a problem with video gaming regarding their signage. Some of the signage with video gaming, I believe they haven't been compliant with our ordinances, and I think that's a major concern of some of the council members here. Not all of them, but I think some of them have had some concerns about some of the video gaming and some of the signage that have been in the right-of-way, out in front of the property and what have you. I also understand that there are some investment opportunity that the city obviously loses out on, whether or not you want to perhaps increase the amount of gaming. My thought is some of the gaming establishments, they don't even have any gaming. They hold a license, but they have very, very little. And I think the Clerk Turnipseed has some of that information for us. But the point is that even though we have 40, there are some establishments that, quite frankly, they do not allow. They have very, very little gaming because of the hours that they have. One of them is the Moose Hall, the Moose Club, whenever they're open for events, otherwise they're shut. The other one is the Apollo. Whenever they have events, they're open. But even then, I don't think they have the bar open next door on a lot of their events, just with the Apollo. Otherwise, it's shut. So you see a diminished amount. So there are some opportunities, people who have come and already made an investment in Belvedere, and they had inquired about video gaming and whether or not the council would want to increase the amount of video gaming that we have. I am one to think that economics, a lot of times, if there's a saturation point, I don't know what that is, whether it be 30, obviously it wasn't 30, people were still trying to get video gaming licenses, and whether it be 40, I don't know. Not all of them are being used, but the point is, I do believe whenever you have so many players in anything, there's only so much of whether it be gambling, whether it be sales of anything that can be marketed or people will attend to, and I think it controls itself. I think it checks itself. So I guess I'm inquiring before we go forward. I see you. I'll get you.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether we go forward with that or not, I'm going to ask that you consider it. And potentially there are some other individuals that would like to hold that license that are business owners now currently in the city, and they have been waiting. So certainly up to the council. I did I do think it's pertinent that when you have so many licenses and then you have individuals that, or businesses that don't utilize them, actually, the numbers probably are not accurate anyhow, and whether or not they're able to have a clientele that comes in, I think the market best determines that, but in my opinion. So Alderman Snow?
So I was never a big fan of putting a moratorium on the number. I get that people don't like the video gaming. I get a lot of negative comments about the signage and it just all looks tacky and that. But on the other hand, we do generate quite a bit of revenue from it, and it does assist the city in its fundings. That being said, since this is up for discussion, I would make a motion to remove the moratorium on the quantity and let the market dictate what it will.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor then to remove the amount in the ordinance that we have listed at 40. Do we have a second? Second by Alderwoman Mohal. And I know the city attorney has a comment he wants to make.
Not to put words in Alderman Snow's mouth, but I've been known to do that for a ton of time. I would presume the motion then is to remove the requirement for a location permit for video gaming purposes within the City of Belvedere Municipal Code.
Come again? I don't, it doesn't
The
mention
whole
quantity.
method by which we do that is we require a location permit for video gaming, and we limit the number of those permits to 40. I presume that's what you're talking about eliminating.
Amending that, yes.
Now, okay, we have motion and second. Is there any discussion before we go forward? I did have a couple thoughts on that one, but Alderman Albertini?
If we want to extend the amount of permits issued by the city, do we feel that these people are just going to leave where they're going now and go to newer places? And will it be the same amount? Or do we feel we're actually going to draw more people into gambling and more revenue?
No, to me, that's not what it's about. To me, it's whether or not you have a saturation point, and then the ones that are going to be successful in anything, I think that holds true. In anything, they'll go ahead and they'll be successful. The ones that may be saturated, may not have as much to offer, they will probably dry up and fail. I think at some point or other, we've kind of already seen that. I've seen where you don't have licenses that are being utilized, and but then potentially you have other ones that are not able to get a license because the license are capped. I guess if I would have been the mayor whenever this started out, I would have tried to limit the gaming licenses to probably somebody that sells, food, what have you, because I do think that to have it in a gas station perhaps wasn't the intent, at least in my opinion. It probably wouldn't have been a good use. I think they should have had it in a restaurant or somebody that had a business. But almost essentially what you see is you have them in a back room in a very small building, a business, and to me, I think that was a mistake. However, I also think that if the market, if the market doesn't demand that, then I think the market takes care of itself, in my opinion. So I'm not sure if you make it unlimited. All I was asking is if you would be able to maybe look at creating, if we could limit the numbers based upon certain criteria or based on a certain number, whether it be 45, whether it be 50, but I'm not here to ask you to make it unlimited. That's up to you. But I think that there are some that would be able to take advantage of having more and do a good business. So certainly I know there's a motion and a second on the floor. It's up to the council. With all that being said, Alderman Albertini.
This motion that was just made, is this for unlimited or a certain amount?
Unlimited.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't want to belabor the point. The original ordinance from the city, obviously the state passed the Illinois Video Gaming Act. The Illinois Video Gaming Act sets forth the criteria by which video gaming is allowed in the state. One of the criteria, with the exception of truck stops, and I want to say certain fraternal organizations, but you have to sell alcohol for consumption on the premises in order to receive a state video gaming license. Which is why it's bars, restaurants, things like that. The reason why gas stations in the city of Belleville and a few other cities got that is we have one type of liquor license, which would allow consumption on premises at the gas stations. So all they had to do was go get the specially used for indoor commercial entertainment, and they could do it. The act does not provide for tying the issuance of gaming to any other criteria such as food or anything like that. Whether or not we could do so with our home rule powers, that's something I'd have to research. I don't know the yes or no to that one. I do know that there's been enough case law out there that home rule does allow you to limit the number. It allows you to limit or increase the fees that you receive per machine. Some are as high as 1,000. I think ours are 500 now per machine. So some things you can do with home rule power, but I don't know about that kind of a criteria. But what we have faced was initially our original orders had no cap whatsoever. As it started proliferating, the council chose 30 because I think we had like 22 already established businesses, or 23. So allow the ones that are in the pipeline to get done, and then we had capped it. What we've seen since then is, of course, more came in. The city council raised it to 40. I know, because it's case law directly on point, if you want to set a maximum number using the location permit process that we have now, you can do that. It could be 40, 45, 50, 60, whatever you choose the number to be. Or you could eliminate it and let the market dictate it. That's completely up to the council. But the process is they do have to have a liquor license both from the state and the city, in most cases, to operate.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Moha, did you have your hand up? Okay.
I really like the idea of having the market dictated. I agree with you that I think the ones that are successful will stay, and the ones that aren't serving our community how people think they should be served will fall away. So I don't see I don't imagine there's going to be 100 license here. So I'm not really concerned about that.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Snow.
And if I recall correctly, because based on previous conversations with the attorney, that the state does, lack of a term, analyze or look at locations so that you're not having an entire strip mall with 10 different venues of this activity. Now, you might have 3 in a long strip, I'm guessing, but there's some controls put in by the state to monitor that to some degree.
The act and the current state agency regulations do have them checking to make sure you don't cluster too many of them together. What they're really trying to avoid is have a strip mall video game and make it look like a mini casino. That is the current regulations. That could change. There's nothing to prevent the state from changing that, but that is the current regulation.
Alderwoman Moha.
I have a question, not really off topic, but not exactly related to our motion on the floor, but you said that our fee is $500 per machine,
Correct.
and other communities are $1,000 per machine?
And some are 75. It's all over the place. In fact, the old home rule limit was, I think, 25. They upped that in recent, I'm sorry, not home rule, it was 25. They've recently updated that in one of the more recent legislative changes. But they're all over the place. There's a ton of lawsuits over the higher ones several years ago. We wrote that one out.
I was going to say, I feel like we're missing out on some revenue there.
Not a lot.
Alderman Snow.
If I might address what I think her potential thing is, after we make address this issue, you can make a motion because it's a discussion on anything to do with video gaming. So everything is in fair game if my understanding is correct.
That's up to the council and the mayor.
Yeah, it's discussion in the on the agenda. It's video gaming discussion, so I would say that's true.
I'd want to check the case law, see if 1,000 passed muster, but I know they were at 1,000.
Okay. Alderman Fleury?
Thank you. So I know a lot of citizens' concerns are with the signage. So could you refresh me again? What is the current signage regulation, and are people are they upholding that, or are they gone out of that range? And if so, who kind of enforces that?
So I don't have my zoning code in front of me, so I will
Sorry to put you on the spot.
give vagueness. The permanent signage, the wall-mounted signage, the freestanding signs, those are all permitted and they meet code. The problem is the temporary signage, like the big flag signs and the feather signs and the right-of-way signs. Our code does regulate temporary signage. It's only allowed to be out for so many days. You're only allowed to have so many. And it's not a matter of it can be out for a month, away for a day, and then back out at so many days per calendar year, to prevent the flooding of properties with the temporary signage. And that's not just for slots, that's for all businesses. It's one of the reasons why we allow animated signage now, because with the gas stations have animated signage, you see a lot less of those banners advertising a 12-pack, over the 4th of July weekend and stuff like that. So the code does address it. It is a matter of enforcement. Our code enforcement officer was injured this year, so getting out, driving, she was on restrictions and stuff like that. So there was a lot this summer that could not be enforced, but staff has been talking about how to combat that moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, so we have a motion on the floor then to basically remove the amount, the number, and we have that on the floor. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
Flurry,
No.
Frank? No. Gramkowski? No. McGee?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Snow?
Aye.
Albertini?
Aye.
Brereton?
No.
4 in favor. It's tied.
Yeah, it is. I vote no, and I will tell you that, unlimited, I'm not so sure. I know of several other businesses that are looking to take advantage of them, but I think that we would put a number on that. I mean, I think the market will, it'll balance itself out. It'll level itself out. I really do. However, I also believe that having a number, a numeric, to determine that, I think that would be wise. I do believe that, as Alderwoman Mulhall said, I don't believe that 100 is that point. I think that's way over saturation. I think we may be there now. We may be close. I would have rather seen a 45 number put on that. And I do believe that you will see the individuals that are not taking advantage of the license they hold because they are not making any money. I think those licenses will probably moderate right around 40. I think you'll see them level themselves out. I think we probably have reached a saturation point, but I would hate to just make it unlimited. I think the market will bear, but I also think that, when they put it at 30, I think that wasn't where it was at. The genie was out of the bottle, and they moved it to 40 long before I got here. But I do believe there's some saturation with some of the ones that don't use it. But I also think that some who want to have them now to be able to have a business that is prosperous and that would have traffic, I think those are the ones that we should probably try and have that. So that's my opinion, so I vote no. Alderman Snow.
Motion to make the number 45 in lieu of 40.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second, then I guess, would that be,
It's going back in ordinance form.
coming, okay, it'll come back in ordinance. Okay, so we'll change that number from 40 to 45.
We have to vote on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that, yes, that's correct? Okay. Okay, second agree? Yes.
Maybe to Gina or Attorney Drella, do anybody ever surrender? They don't ever give them up? Like some of these businesses that aren't open, like Firebox has them, they're not open. Coach's Corner, I saw that they've removed theirs. Something's funny.
So we do have a provision in the current ordinance that says when they cease operation for a period of time, 60 days or more, then their location permit can be deemed to be forfeited. Believe it or not, because I sent a letter to that respect to the Firebox, and they have actually been open for some special events, kind of like what the Apollo does. And they did have video gaming in, I think it was September. Not a lot, but it happened. The reality is, the way the market works, the owner of the facility, the Firebox, the gas station, the Apollo, whoever, doesn't cost them anything to have those machines there. Not a cent, other than the electricity to operate the machines. And the video game operator, which is a third party, it doesn't cost them anything to have those machines there unless they would need it at another location that makes more money. But as long as they play machines, they have no desire to take it out. So as long as they're making some money, it's worthwhile for them to leave it there. Now, you know, obviously they do that math formula in their own head, and if they're not making at least the electricity plus the $500 a year is to have the machine, they'll reduce the number. We have seen some places reduce the number of machines, but I'm not aware of anybody actually turning the location permit altogether.
Can I ask one more thing?
Absolutely, Alderman
Okay.
Frank.
How many people are still waiting for a license?
Ms. Delrose?
So there has been 48 approved special uses that are currently valid. I'll see if you don't operate for a year, your special use voids out, like Red's Bar, that one's voided out. So there's 8 approved special uses that don't have active gaming. Out of those 8, 1 is actually within the annexation agreement that they get gaming regardless. So there's really 7 vying for it. Rosati's Pizza, Nine Iron, Casey's, the Old Family Video. I can't remember the other 3 off the top of my head. So, and this is a good point as to why that the cap can be a little unfair. For instance, Maggio's Pizza submitted to the state, and within 2 months, the state gaming board approved his license, and he came in and actually snagged the very last available license. Where Casey's has been almost 2 years waiting for the state, and Nine Iron has been almost a little over a year waiting for the state. The state does not review the applications in the order that they're received. So someone can go through the process, get the special use, get the liquor license, apply for the state, and get put in this holding period, while then 4 months later, someone else comes in, starts the process, and then snags one of the limited licenses, even though they came in after the fact, just because the state seems to kind of willy-nilly review them. So the 7 that are waiting, some have been waiting for quite a while.
Alderman Snow?
So, more information on when a business changes hands, do they have to go through their own liquor license application and everything else. Potentially, they have to go through the zoning process because the zoning or the special use is already at that location. So they avoid that process. But liquor license, I assume that gets reinitiated, and the video gaming itself gets reinitiated as far as somebody, because our calendar year for that kind of stuff is May 1st. If they take possession of a property in January, they're paying all that upfront cost just as if they'd opened up in May. Is that a fair assumption?
Partially. The video gaming location permit, which is what we've been talking about, that essentially transfers along with the property when a new company buys it. Where we've run into problems is because of this 60-day time limit about being fallow. So I'm going to buy your facility, and we make a deal, and we close on July 1, okay? I've hopefully already initiated the liquor background check with the city and got all that going. And if I'm lucky, my liquor license that I'm now having to pay my new liquor license fee for is valid on July 1, immediately after closing, maybe July 2, right? But I have to go through an entire new background check with the state. And that might take more than 60 days, in which time period I can't be having gaming at my location. We've actually had that crop up a few times administratively. We've left that permit in place because they were actively seeking the permit from the state, and there was a sale that had just happened. But yes, that's an example of a situation that could create a problem under our code. Just administratively worked around it.
And Alderman Albertini?
Okay, I'm doing my math, and he's going to 45, but she's got 7 more, and we're already at 40. I feel that we need to go to 50 just to make sure everybody gets a fair shake at this, and that'll still leave 3 open for potential people in the future. Otherwise, we're gonna be shut out again already, and this is just gonna come up again.
Well, it may, but we also have to keep in mind, I don't know why the state, I don't know, we can't control what the state does with how they, their timeframe. What's unfair is, all I know is that it's not on us, it's not our responsibility. So with that being said, I don't, like I said, I still think the number is something that it's up to the council, but.
I'd like to amend.
Hold on a second. Ms. Delrose?
I do want to add something. One of the reasons why we have more special uses than available licenses is that it's a special use for indoor commercial entertainment, which allows for on-site consumption, allows for a bar, arcade, pool hall. It's a wide variety of uses. Video gaming is just one of them. So even though they have the special use, they may not have video gaming. They are allowed to do other things with the property. And again, another reason why there is more special uses than licenses is just because we approve it doesn't mean the state will. I mentioned the ones that I know for a fact the state is okay with. The other ones, they could end up getting denied by the state. So I understand where you're coming from with 7 out there, limiting 5, but in all honesty, the state could be denying a few of them. That isn't unheard of either.
Yeah, but they could also approve all 7, and then we're leaving 2 people in the lurch.
Well, you could, but you could have, you could have more apply, and I don't know if that's what the community wants. I thought when they started at 30, I thought that was, I wasn't here. And then when they changed it to 40, I was not here then. But I do think the saturation point will find its way, and those that have to wait, if 2 individuals may have to wait, they may not. They may not, those licenses may not get issued at the state level. I don't know. I can't control it. We can't control their time frame as well. So, Alderman Snow.
I'd like to amend my original motion from 45 to 50 if the second will approve.
Who was the second? Alderman
Mulhall.
Okay, second agree? Okay. All right, so you have an amendment then to change the 45 to 50, correct? Okay, any other discussion, or do we get it all said? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, we'll do it again. Roll call, please.
Frank? No. Gramkowski? No. McGee?
Aye.
Mulhall?
Aye.
Snow?
Aye.
Albertini?
Aye.
Brereton?
No.
Flurry?
No.
It's 4, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You thought I didn't pay attention.
You're busy tonight, Mayor.
I will vote aye. I think what I was after was a stipulation on an amount. rather than unlimited. I think that, that'll satisfy it. If that's a saturation point, so be it. But anyhow, motion passed. So you'll have another chance to address that. Yeah, next one. Okay, moving along here, we have item C, intersection review of Union Avenue and Sixth Street. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Your Honor. A memo on your desk tonight. I apologize for not getting them in the packets, but last week was a short week. Intersection review, Union Avenue, West Sixth Street. Existing conditions, Union Avenue stops for traffic on West Sixth Street. Traffic volume, Sixth Street has a volume of 2,850 vehicles per day. Union Avenue has ADT of 200 or less. There's been 7 accidents in the last 5 years. Typical pedestrian activity, no sight distance limitations are noted. Being that this is already a two-way stop, one of the main warrant for making it a 4-way stop, according to IDOT's policies, is you have to have at least 5 accidents in the last 12 months. And this intersection obviously does not qualify for that. Therefore, based on the above information, no additional regulation is warranted at this time.
Okay. Alderman Brereton?
Thank you again, Mayor. So I am the one who originally received this request for the intersection review. And actually, the constituent is actually here. I didn't know if maybe we would allow her to speak. Miss Wendy Vespucci. I don't know if you want to come up and maybe say something, if that's okay, Mayor?
Absolutely. Hi, Wendy. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Thank you for coming here.
Not a problem. So I live on the corner of Union and Sixth, and I've only lived there for 3 years, and within the 3 years, I've had a car almost up into my porch due to an accident. I've had an officer stop me and ask me if my cameras picked up a hit and run, and that was just within the past 2 months. I've watched many cars go flying down the road. So they're not even doing 25. They're going well above the speed limit. The only time I know that an officer is around is when everybody starts doing the speed limit. So with that being said, I don't think the cops are hiding or everybody knows where they hide. As far as all of that, I've been watching TV a couple of years ago and somebody hit a flatbed truck that was parked. So, I mean, people are literally flying down the road. So I think speed bumps should happen or more stop signs, because there is only the one stop sign until from, what is that, Pearl Street all the way down to, what is it? Not Appleton.
State?
Seventh.
State, or going
Seventh.
west? Seventh?
Yeah.
Oh, Seventh, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, there's only that one stop sign there, and then you have the other stop sign all the way down there by Chrysler. So a lot of people do use that as a through, I think is what people have told me, a throughway or whatever. But I seriously watch a lot of people go flying down there, and I don't think that it's safe to watch these little kids in the elementary schools walking with a little buddy. You know, I'm scared that one of them's gonna get hit. I was told of a fatality of a child on Sixth Street down like 16th and 14th Avenue or Street or whatever that is.
14th. Mhm.
And so I'm trying to speak out for these children and for the rest of the community, for people to slow down, to watch out for these children. You know, I'm even scared with my granddaughter when she starts walking. I watch people come down that way. So
Yeah.
it's just a major concern for me.
Okay. All right, and would you pronounce your name for the record so that I get it right? Spell it, please.
Vespucci.
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 Okay. All right, Wendy, well, thank you very much for
Thank
coming this
you.
evening.
Your Honor,
Alderman Snow?
I'll make a motion to put the four-way intersection at that location.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Albertini. Any other discussion, any comments, any concerns? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And if there's any opposed? Okay, motion passed. All right, thank you. And item D, Director Anderson, Street Department Truck 2072, regarding our dump truck repair issue. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, on your desk tonight is two memos, both related to that topic. The first one would be the Street Department equipment replacement. We touched upon it a little bit at the council meeting as far as Street Department and what that means. So in front of you tonight is more detailed information regarding the Street Department in general and the rolling stock. Currently, we have 41 pieces of rolling stock with an average age of 22 years. And there's an attached summary for you, itemized listing of the rolling stock at the Street Department with the particular information. And basically, depending on how you look at it, if it's a worst case or best case scenario, it's the total current budget new replacement cost is $7,190,000. As you know, from a historical standpoint, we don't always buy new, replace with new. We try to find like new used if possible when the situation arises. But just from a budgetary standpoint, that represents basically replacing everything on that list with a new vehicle at the time of replacement. And again, that total is $7,190,000. So if you take that and you base it on a 20-year replacement cycle, you're looking at an average budgeted amount of $359,500. A 25-year replacement cycle would put you to $287,600. And if you go for a 30-year replacement cycle, you're down to $239,700 annually. Summary of our budgeted amounts since 2019. As you can see, from 2019 through 2024, we were somewhat less than any of those numbers are proposed going forward. 25, 26, 27, 28 gets us up to closer to what those amounts would be. Still not there yet. So basically, since in 2019, our average annual equipment expense has been budgeted at $199,300. So again, that information is just provided for you, food for thought. We'll dive more into that through the budget process, upcoming budget process for the new fiscal year and the capital forecast going forward to where we're at with the equipment, but that gives you some background of where we're at right now. The second memo on your desk tonight, it's with the title, The Purchase of a Used 2015 International Dump Truck. As you know, at the council meeting, we came up for a vote to spend approximately $33,556.08 to repairs of one of our 1999 Navistar dump truck. And just a footnote for that, when that was purchased new, we received that truck on April 3rd of 2000, and as delivered, it was $99,438.44. Here we are to 2023, and we're looking at $275,000 for that same basic truck. So prices have indeed increased a lot since then. The memo, as it says there, is a 2015. So we've located a 2015 International 7400 10-yard dump truck that is available for purchase. The truck currently belongs to the Village of East Dundee, and they are replacing this truck with a 5-yard dump truck that better fits their needs. They were anticipating taking over jurisdiction of some IDOT roadways in their village, and that did not transpire, so this truck is basically sat and has not been used. It's only got 12,376 miles on it, has a stainless steel dump box and spreader, and is in very good condition. The price of the truck is $30,000. Purchase of this truck would provide immediate benefit to our snow removal program and allow us to postpone further discussion and repairs to truck 2072 to next year's budget process. Again, I think for that $33 odd dollars on $1,000 on that truck could still be a benefit to the city. However, since it even if that was approved, we wouldn't have those repairs completed during this snow season. Therefore, I feel we can postpone it and bring it up through the discussion for the budget process to move forward. But I would recommend purchasing the 2015 International 10-yard dump truck from the Village of East Dundee in the amount of $30,000. The truck will be paid for from Street Department line item 015-310-6020, the same line item that we would have used to do the repairs for truck 72. We did go look at the vehicle today, went through it. There's probably a few minor repairs that we'll have to do to it, to the tune probably a couple $1,000s perhaps. But by and large, it's in a very good condition, and those repairs are basically because of its lack of use over the last several years. So.
Okay. All right. What's your pleasure? Okay. Then the motion on the floor is to purchase the 2015 International 10-yard dump truck from the Village of East Dundee in the amount of $30,000. The truck will be paid for from the Street Department line item 01-5-310-6020. And a second by Alderwoman Mohau. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that motion? Alderwoman Frank.
Thank you. Director Anderson, do we need to do anything to expedite this so that we don't lose out on this truck?
No, I don't believe so, being the fact that it's coming from another village and going through their protocols with what they have to do for approval of the sale and stuff. I think timing-wise will work out on both ends.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, motion passed. And Mr. Anderson, I think with the inflationary rate that you just described almost 3 times, I appreciate it. I think this is very prudent. So.
Yeah, and believe me, if we find more trucks like this, I'll be the first one to bring them to the council. Again, I think it will hopefully work out in the best interest for the city, and I think this one will, just because of the condition of this truck, given its age and what it's been used for. So we will always keep our eyes out for those kind of opportunities.
And I also think that may be one of the reasons in your memo that you're seeing, you are prudent and have been prudent over the years. And I think when you look at the average amount of money that you're spending on vehicles, you are seeing some savings because you're finding some vehicles like this. So I know I appreciate it on behalf of the taxpayers, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, as a heads up to the committee, based upon that vote, I believe next week on council agenda, you'll be seeing both item D and item E, because item D was postponed until that meeting, if I remember correctly, last week.
Item D was postponed to this meeting.
It came out of council, I had to go back to council.
Yeah.
Council, yes, we will bring it back to council.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that point, they should vote no on that item and yes on the purchase.
Yeah. And I think Mr. Anderson will make that clear a little bit again, what he had talked about regarding it. That vehicle still potentially is a bargain if it's repaired. Now, is it an instantaneous bargain, or does it help? It doesn't. This does. So we'll address that as we go. So how's that?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So item E, Street Department replacement of truck 2028 dump box. Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, so this was a memo in your packet. Our truck 28 is a 1995 Ford LTS 9000. The dump box has deteriorated to the point that it cannot be rebuilt and needs to be replaced. We have received the following proposals for a replacement dump box, with Monroe Truck Equipment being the low price at $25,026. This is for a steel box, not a stainless steel box, but just a normal steel box, given the truck that it's a 1995. This truck is still in good operating condition, has no indications of any frame cracks or anything like that coming up. So again, I think it's a prudent expense to replace this box. Unfortunately, as with everything else these days, it seems delivery of this box could be as much as 16 weeks out, 4 months out. So approval of this tonight will not help us in our snow removal efforts. However, 2070 was a 2000. In 2006, we took the semi-tractor that was previously used at the wastewater treatment plant. We acquired a V-Box salt spreader from, I don't remember if it was the township, one of the townships, or the county, and we fabricated a belly plow with the V-Box attachment to use it for snow removal, and that served the city until last year, again, with the frame crackage and things on that one, and to the point that we were not gonna make those repairs. But we are looking at taking that V-Box on a temporary basis, putting on the frame, the possibility of putting on the chassis of 2028 to get us by this year for being able to salt. That hasn't been decided yet if it's gonna be doable or not, but we are looking at that option. So I would recommend approval of the proposal for Monroe Truck Equipment in the amount of $25,026 for the 10-yard dump box, and will be paid for from Street Department line item 015-310-6020.
Okay. Could I have a motion to that effect, please? Motion by Alderman Snow and a second by Alderman McGee. Thank you both. Any questions, any comments, any concerns on the motion?
Yeah.
Alderman Snow?
So that's quite a big jump. I mean, that's over $10,000 for 2536. Okay, just curious.
They were bidding like, they're both steel boxes, both the same dimensions. That's what that's what their proposals were.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion passed, thank you. And seeing that we don't have anything else on the agenda this evening, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderwoman Frank, thank you. Second by Alderman Albertini, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody want to stay? All right, for the record, we adjourned at 7:53 PM. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.